Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Jose, who prefers to be called Guy. So Guy, welcome man.
Hi.
So dude, can you tell us what your full type is? Like give us the complete type, with the sexual modalities and animals and whatnot.
Yeah, so I am double feminine, SEFI, consume, play, blast, sleep.
So you are a very extroverted ESFP. Um,
Yeah.
um, so what did you think and how did you feel when you got your typing results back?
Um, I was pretty devastated actually, just because at the time I thought I knew what I was, and I went in there super confident, like, oh yeah, they're gonna be so proud of me, Dave and Shannon, because I got they're gonna think, oh wow, I'm so good at typing,
Yeah.
and I'm able to type myself, and yeah, that ended up not being the case.
What did you type yourself as?
I thought it was an INFP because
Oh,
because a lot of what I felt was like I didn't really feel. I felt like a lot of my problems stemmed from like the tribe, um, and that wasn't the case. So
what did they see? What kind of problems did they see that was reoccurring when you were, when you submitted your video?
well, I would say the first thing that really caught their eye was my double deciding. So that was probably the most prominent thing that they said. Like as they were hearing me speak and everything, just when I was talking about people, I was going back and forth between tribe and self, tribe and self. So that was like the first thing, like off the bat, they're like, "You're really good at double deciding. Like you're an EP. Like we can tell." Um, and then just in general, I think one of my biggest problems I mentioned in my video was just never finding enough time for things. Uh, so they attributed that to like bad planning.
Okay. Human planning.
And, yeah, really bad with planning and not being a really good organizer.
Gotcha. Yeah, it doesn't help that you're feminine sensory too,
Oh yeah.
Let's
Oh, it's
start with that. Why don't we start with that? So you have feminine SE. Do you tend to like forget things or, forget numbers and facts and details like very easily?
yeah. Well, I think it's what stems more for my feminine SE is how I'm like I disregard the sensory a lot. And I think because I do that, I end up not even paying attention to sensory facts. Um, and so I end up just like forgetting a lot of like important things because of that.
Well, the weird thing is you're lead sensory, so it's kind of like a weird contradiction.
Yeah, exactly. It's really funny, and that's why I didn't think I even had sensory as a savior.
Right. And you're also info dominant, so you're gonna be, obsessing over accuracy of information at the same time. So, like there's a lot of like weird contradiction with your type because number one, you have feminine sensory. Number two, you're info dominant, but then you forget the sensory. So how does that work for you? Like, how do you experience that?
Um, well, what's funny is like I'll go to the tribe, I'll go to people and blame them for not giving me the right information, and then when they correct me, they're like, "We did tell you, you just forgot." Then I'll think about it and be like, "Oh, you did. All right, cool. Well, then everything's fine."
That's funny. And I like how you like blame the tribe too, but then after they corrected, you're like, oh yeah, that's fine, and you're like double deciding at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just like, my bad. I'm so sorry. That was my fault. You were right. It's all good. It's
Yeah.
just going back and forth. So funny.
And you have double feminine ST play. So what is your double feminine ST play like?
Uh, well, I would say the best thing about it is how easily I can go along with the tribe on a lot of stuff. Um, Usually, if they want to do stuff, I'm not one to like shove them as easily. So usually, I'm more go with the flow about stuff. So if somebody wants to go do something, go hang out, I'm like, okay, sure, let's go. Like, all right, it's no big
You're pretty,
deal.
you're pretty flexible with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm more flexible about it. They'll also have to learn to push the tribe more when I need to.
What is ST play for you? Like what is that? Like, ST is, facts, information, right? The accuracy, like reporter like. Are you very reporter like when you talk to the tribe?
Yeah, especially in my job because I'm a retail manager.
Okay.
So a lot of my a lot of my play goes in through my job. So usually when I'm training my staff or I'm talking to them, it's usually like a straight like reporting of facts and everything when I'm talking to them. Like, hey guys, we got to watch out for this. This is what happened at this time. You got to make sure we're watching out for this thing. We're going to have customers looking for this product. Make sure you're doing this. And it's just very, very straightforward, like talk.
I think the good thing about being an EP in your position at your work is that, EPs are really good at chaos. So you pretty much know all the chaos that's going to happen at your workplace, and you kind of just told everybody, and everyone knows. It's not a surprise, and and you're going to be the best at that.
Yeah, and that's actually what has helped a lot. Just like you said, retail jobs in general are incredibly chaotic. You just can't tell what's going to happen day to day, customer to customer. So just being able to just be aware of like, yeah, this is probably it's gonna be chaotic. We're gonna have people everywhere. This is happening. This is happening. We got to regulate this, and it's helped. At least knowing that I'm an EP.
Your play is SF. And your lead SF. So what do you do with that SF consume? Like, are you consuming popular things like, like trashy TV shows like Kardashians and stuff like that, or something along
Yeah.
those lines?
So just growing up, my parents allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do. So I ended up getting into like animated video games.
Okay.
So and I work at GameStop. So I work at a gaming store. So pretty much I get to consume at my job the things that I love.
Yeah.
And I can look up everything at home and continue playing video games when I get home. So it's great.
How does SF work for you? Like, how do you experience SF consume? Like, how does it work?
It's pretty easily because it's like, what makes me happy? Well, video, what physical thing makes me happy? Video games and anime. So I'm gonna go and look up video game and anime related things for
Yeah.
myself. It's very, very basic and simple.
Yeah, it does. I guess it's pretty straightforward in your in your situation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you can't mess it up. There's no like hidden message
Yeah,
or
no,
no.
none whatsoever.
Now you have Blastard. It's supposed to be
Mhm.
your hobby animal, and your Blast is NT, kind of like the INTJs. How do you experience your Blastard?
Um, yeah, so again, one of the best things about my job is being able to train my staff. So a lot of it um, really comes out when I'm working because when I'm trying to teach my staff new things and everything, it's actually kind of feels good for me to like see my staff learn from me, um, whatever it is I'm trying to teach them. And that's that's probably the best way my blast comes out is being at work, talking to my staff, just being like, hey, this is what I have to teach you today. We have to learn how to do this. This is what we're learning. And then seeing them get what I'm teaching them and seeing them progress is how usually I exercise my blast. So day to day, basically every day I use it.
And now you have feminine TE. So how do you use your feminine TE? Like, are you more like submissive with a tribe, or is it easier for the tribe to kind of like bulldoze you sometimes because of that feminine TE? Would you say? But do you also
Yeah,
focus on what works for everyone, except you're more flexible?
yeah. So I would say one of the things I did learn, because I've been a manager, I've had 12, 13 years of experience being a manager so far. So one of the biggest thing I learned is to not be so big of a pushover because a lot of times I would be afraid to even speak up because I was afraid of the initial negativity that could happen. And I've had to learn to mentally tell myself, like, hey, it's better in the long run to, go up to that person and say, no, we can't do that, or that is a bad idea, or hey, this situation just happened. And, I was scared to tell you, but I have to tell you. And it's something I have to constantly tell myself. So with it being feminine TE and feminine play, when a lot of negative stuff happens and or bad things happen, and I'm responsible for informing people, and it takes a while for me to want to like say it. Like I have to push myself almost every single time to like speak up or to say no, because sometimes I have to tell people, no, I'm not going to do this for you. I'm not going to help you because we have other things to do or whatever reason. And that is hard. It's really hard because normally it's really easy to be like, okay, sure, all right, and then just leave it as is and don't say a word. Uh, that feels good initially, but in the long run, it's not always going to help. So I've had to learn to push.
Gotcha. I guess that's a double decider also coming into play. Like, when the tribe has gone too far and it's time for you, it's you time now.
Yeah, and that's something that Dave did mention. He said that because I have blast, sorry, yeah, blast and play in the top 3, so I'm double activated TE, but I'm savior FI, and they're both in the middle. So he says I have a really good, like, not 50-50 obviously, but as close as it can be is what he said. So I am able to be aware, like, all right, like I have to speak up, I have to push back, I can't just go along at this point because it's not going to benefit people.
Gotcha. Let's go back to your NT. So what kind of like blaster NT lessons do you give to your employees, would you say?
I guess the best way would be my current thing is I'm trying to teach my assistant manager to move up in the next move up and become a store leader one day. So we'll go over reports, and a lot of the times it's like, hey, these are the reports that you have to read, and this is how it will benefit you. This is how being aware of this TE information will help you in the future, NI. So that's usually how I end up speaking to my staff, like, hey, this will be good for you to learn for this reason, and this is good for you, so let me show you this information.
So you're pretty much doing long-term planning with your staff to kind of help them with their career, to advance their career.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the NI is kind of like what's going to happen in the future, and here are the TE steps that you would have to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you have masculine NI. Are you very like more pushy when it comes to like this is what's going to happen in the future? Like you're like solid with what you predict is going to happen in the future. Like this is what's going to happen for you, so you have to do it this way. Otherwise, you're not going to get this result in the future.
Yeah, I would say I notice it more when I get in a demon state, because that's when my demon and I just takes over, and it can go a little crazy with it just saying, especially when I get stubborn about something, or like you said, I'll get to parts where it's just like, no, that is not. This is the negative thing that's going to happen if you don't do this. So we need to do this so that this negative thing doesn't happen. And yeah, I get really stubborn about it.
So your future projection is solid, but how you get yourself there, it's flexible because of the TE. So you can say, this is what's going to happen in the future, but here are the different ways that we can take to kind of get there, and they're all going to get this result. But this is what's going to happen. There's no other thing that could possibly happen except for this. Do you ever get to that situation?
Yeah, a lot. With work especially, because that's where it really goes to work. Pretty much like you said, it's just, hey, if we want this result, we need to take these steps. Not like you said, there are a few things we could do a little bit differently here and here to get the same result, but at the end of the day, this is the result that needs to be achieved.
Gotcha. Now let's talk about your last animal, double masculine sleep NF. So what is your double masculine sleep NF like?
Oh, it's bad. I would say that well, for one thing, it takes me forever to process things. Like, I will, to a point that I didn't even realize, like, I will still play recurrent events that have happened, maybe even from years ago, that I'm still processing, that would just randomly even pop in my head. Of like, let's say, as an example, let's say I had a customer with a negative experience, and customer got upset, she yelled at me, whatever, and I'll still be processing that for days, weeks, months. Occasionally, it'll pop back into my head after never thinking about it for like a year or two, but then I'll just instantly remember that one experience that I had and what that means, and it'll just like, it won't necessarily put me in a funk, but my emotion would kind of immediately like feel a little down because it just popped back in. And that's usually how it comes out. It feels like it comes out very randomly. Sometimes when I least expect it, it's just a negative thing, just a thing would just pop into my head, and I just start reliving that negative experience.
Because you're NF and because your sleep is NF, um, do you tend to project to the future what you think you're gonna feel? You know, like, and you're pretty like confident that, like, I don't know. I'll give you a concrete example. So let's say you're making travel plans with your relatives, and they suggested to go to a specific destination that you don't particularly want to go, because in your head you kind of visualize already, okay, I see in the future we're gonna go there, and I know I'm gonna hate it already, you know, and then so people are telling you you can't predict how you're gonna feel in the future. They're like, no, I know, I can feel it already. So do you ever get to that situation where you project how you're gonna feel in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Trying to think of a really good example. But yeah, I mean, that sounds very, very like it. Usually, like if my boss calls me and he says, "Hey, tomorrow, can you go to this other location and help them out for this and this?" Immediately in my head, I'm already thinking, man, like, I don't want to go to that store because they're not going to be set up for success, and I need to now help them. Like, it's not going to go well. Why should I go? It's not going to, be progressive for me to do that. Why? And yeah, and I'll feel that way, and I'll probably get pretty upset, like just thinking like, I already know I'm not going to like going on.
Yeah, and part of NF2 is, what's the point, right? So I kind of
Yeah.
I kind of hear it on your voice already. You're like, what's the point of me going there when things are not gonna work out anyways? Like, what's the point? And it's really aggressive, double masculine. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like I will, when that happens, I get like, it's almost like a 180 of like, I'm cheerful, happy, and then boom, here comes, the thing I don't want to do instantly. What's the point? What the hell? Why am I have to go over here? That's stupid. I don't want to do this. It's not going to be a good result, and I will go on a rant
yeah,
for who knows how long if I can get over it.
yeah. That's really interesting with the double masculine NF sleep that you have. It's also fourth, so it comes out like randomly too. Like it kind of comes out as like it's like you describe it as a rant, but it's kind of like an explosion, and it comes out, and you're like, oh, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, yeah. So that happens a lot. When it happens, it's always, it goes from 0 to 100.
Yeah, and then later you look back and like, what the hell the hell did this happen?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and at that point, then I'm apologizing to the tribe afterwards, like,
yeah,
"Hey guys, I'm so sorry that happened. I was just upset. Everything's cool now. Let's go have some fun. I'll buy you ice cream or something."
I like how you go to the SF for the solution. Like, hey, we're all gonna
Exactly.
consume this cool ice cream.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's so funny, man. Um, so would you say the NF is your biggest life problem? Like, you always, maybe like you have like a crisis in your life where you're thinking, what's the point of what I'm doing with my life? Like, what is the point of all this? Like, what's the point of me working at GameStop? What's the point of me, like doing what I'm doing? Like, do you ever get to that situation where you ask yourself, what's the point?
Yeah, yeah. Like, there's days when I'm sure you probably have these days too, where like you've just been working nonstop, or you've been on the go, lots of play, and then you go to sleep and you wake up more tired than you were the day before, and you just feel like, man, why am I still doing what I'm doing? Like, and yeah, I would say that's a big hurdle, especially when it comes to um, my future. Like, since I do live in the moment as an SE user,
Yeah.
future planning and everything, that's difficult for me. So if something were to happen and it feels like what little future I was thinking is gone, it feels very, very hard to like get out of that funk.
Do you also get an existential crisis? Because of that sleep last double masculine NF. Like you get that like a situation, like a random like thought that the sparks in your head, because it's not something you can control, right? It's your fourth animal. So do you get like that random existential crisis in your life?
It's not as random as it used to be. I would say when I was younger, it happened a lot. But I feel like things are going in for the last 10 years, things have gone in such a great trajectory for me that it doesn't happen that often anymore. But yeah, occasionally it still pops up like, man, I still got, debt to pay. Am I ever going to pay it off? I don't know. What's going to happen when I'm this age? Man, I probably should have planned this, that I should probably plan my future better. And yeah, that's why the biggest thing that happens to me out of everything is when I feel like, crap, I should have planned my future better.
Do you also get anxiety over your future because of all these thoughts that you have? Like, do you get a massive anxiety attack of not knowing what's going to happen in the future?
Yeah. All right, so I'll admit this. When I was little, this is funny. Well, it's funny now, not funny when it happened. So when I was like a little kid, 7, 8 years old, I was actually having like random panic attacks and scares of me because of me dying. And I would actually cry to my parents saying, I don't want to die. I'm like 7 years old, telling my parents, I don't want to die. And they're like, what's going on? Why are you even thinking about this? And I'm like, I don't know, but I just don't want to die. And it's because I didn't know what was going to happen at that point. That's like immense unknown territory. um, it's funny looking back at it now. At the time, it was crazy for a child to be, thinking about that. But yeah, I would say that was probably the biggest unknown, is being afraid of what's going to happen to myself after I die. Like,
Gotcha. So
crazy.
I guess
Crazy.
it's not happening anymore though, right?
No. I'm just like, I can't help it. So it's just like, all right, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't stop it.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
yeah, so I'm much better.
Let's talk about your sexual modality. So you are double feminine. So you are tester
Yeah.
and visual. So talk about being a tester. Like, do you like to, I guess, experiment?
Yeah. So one thing I feel like I do just naturally is, especially at work, let's say a problem arises where we're trying to take care of a guest or something. And sometimes my staff will be like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm like, okay, well, let me look. And I'll just go to the computer and I'll just start pressing random stuff and just seeing what will work. And eventually I'll find it. And my staff always says, how did you figure that out? I don't know. I just started pressing stuff and and I figured it out. So there you go. Like,
Yeah.
like, you're welcome.
I really think that tester ability is really good. I really think it's really useful. Having that ability to want to experiment and try different things out, because I don't like doing that. So, but I notice that people who do that, it's like, wow, that's a superpower right there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was something people had, because I did it so naturally. I didn't realize there were people that had trouble with that. And
Yeah,
because I do get that a lot. And I'll get phone calls from a lot of managers asking me, what do I do? Oh, I don't know. Let me figure it out. And I'm just there pressing buttons. I'm like, okay, I got it. Let me walk you through what I just did. And I help them.
yeah. I mean, I'm an EP like you, and I don't even like to try different food. Like I know like tester people, like especially ESFPs, they love to try like different food. Like, would you say you're like that kind of person that likes to try like different food?
Um, yes and no. Like, I'm willing to go to a restaurant I've never like been before,
Yeah.
but I will still order something that I'm familiar with. But that might be more just my FI. Like,
Okay. Okay,
well,
that makes sense.
yeah, like I've already tried. Like, cool. I'll go to have a brand new sushi place I've never been to, but I'm probably still going to order the spring rolls because that's what I'm
Gotcha.
used to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your FI. So how do you experience your masculine FI?
Um, well, I realize how stubborn I can be with like what I want to do, uh, and what I like. Like it's interesting how I don't budge on my values and what I like. So there'll be people who will tell me like, "Well, why do you like this? If for this reason, you shouldn't like it." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, those are good reasons, but I'm still gonna like what
Yeah.
I'm doing." What I like. It's just interesting how it doesn't budge. Um, but I'm lucky with the having it to be balanced out with the TE because I will still respect people for like I'll be nice enough to listen to people telling me why I should or shouldn't like something. But at the end of the day, it's not going to make me move what I like.
You said that you're not gonna budge on your values. Can you tell me what your top 5 values are that you won't budge on?
Wow. Uh,
I'm forcing you to use your sleep now, your NF sleep.
yeah, I'm just like, oh snap, I have no idea.
Or give me one at least if you can't think of 5.
Sure. Let me see. I guess being a lead FI user, one of the things that I value the most is you be you. Be who you are, be yourself, and everything. Uh,
Authenticity.
yeah, authenticity. And so like one of the most interesting things that I had a conversation with my assistant manager a while back was he would tell me that he didn't feel like he could not be himself when he is working with customers, and that he has to be just not himself or fake. Basically being nice and polite. And I would look at him like, why? If you're still being you, you just have to be nice. Like all you gotta do is not cuss at them, and you're fine.
Yeah.
You can still be yourself. And that was always kind of a disconnect that him and I had, where a lot of it was me trying to show him like, look, man, like you can still be you. You can still be yourself, and customers will still like that. I may not, you know, I'm still myself when I'm talking to guests, and I'm not going to really budge who I am that way. Um, but I know I'm not being rude to them either because, you're still working. You can find that balance and still be your authentic self. Like, you don't need to be somebody else. So I think in terms of like when people tell me that they can't be themselves, that usually like makes me feel like, no, I think you can be like, you should, there's ways to always be yourself. Like,
Yeah, I think that's the disconnect between FI and FE users, because I think the FE people, they kind of become the person they're talking to, you know. While like if you have FI, you're still you, but especially if you have high play, it's a lot easier too, you know. Like you can still be yourself, but it's completely cool and actually preferable because of that high play, right? Like it's
yeah.
fun, it's totally you, you know. And if you didn't do it, it would be weird actually, you know. So you talk about authenticity. Do you have any other values that you would say that you have in your FIs? Authenticity is a really good one. So clearly since that's the first one that you thought about, that's clearly like probably your number one value. But would you say you have any other values that you have that you adhere to? I know you have them. They're just subconscious, but can you? So let's
Yeah.
hear some more.
Yeah, maybe because I don't really like. I never really thought about it. So yeah, they're in there somewhere. Um, Man, yeah, I can't really think of anything huge that. I mean, I value a lot of stuff. I mean, physical things, like my video games and anime, and I feel like nobody can really ever will ever convince me that they're not good.
Okay. Why don't I mention a bunch of value like words to you and tell me if those one resonates? Okay. So
That'll work. That'll
okay.
help me.
So
Give me
there's
some sensory.
yeah. So adventure, um, fun, um, honesty, family, community, religion, spirituality, courage, let me think, growth. Um, and any of those resonate with you as a top 5 value or not yet?
Um,
I'll keep
well, I
generating
mean,
a list.
recently now, you know, I think definitely growth has been really important, especially with you know, find out my type and what I need to work on to be better. Um, it does kind of irk me sometimes to see people who are stubborn and don't want to try to get better at whatever it is, even if you're not into OP or anything, just trying to be a better person in general. I feel is also important. Um, but man, I feel like a lot of my values are just very superficial. Like I don't really think too much of uh, of deep, like crazy, huge morals. I guess. I mean, do unto others. Uh,
Karma.
you know, the Ten Commandments, maybe. Don't kill.
I see. No, it's all good, man. You have your NF last, so you need more time to process this. But I think this is a good like a good task for you to do, on your spare time. Like let's say like it's slow at work, everything's done already. Maybe you can like standard like, okay, what is my top 5 value? And then you gotta go to that NF sleep, right? Because like it's like one word really, and then that kind of it's like an umbrella of like a lot of things that you kind of do in your life. So you said growth, which is yeah. So you got growth. You clearly are doing it. You're working on self improvement and personal development, and you're also authentic. So those are like the 2 that you have. So you got to figure out your other 3 now on your spare time. So,
Yeah, I would say because that's something that Shannon did say to in terms of working, especially with my NI, is working on it, trying to get into sleep a little bit more when I can. Dave made a good example of being able to get into your sleep when you're driving, because people you tend to go into a sleepier state when you're there, or a sleep state. Um, and yeah, that's actually a good one to definitely think about and try. I never even thought about that.
yeah, it's all good, man. Well, I use my sleep also when I drive. I'm asleep last like you are. So when
Yeah,
I drive, I don't listen to music because I want to hear what's going on in my head. So that's kind of like the time for me to process what happened in my life.
yeah,
So that's something that you could try. I guess is like drive with no music on.
yeah. Just drive randomly. Don't even like just get up and start going to your car and
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
just
if you want, yeah, if you want to do that, go ahead.
or just stay in your parking lot in your car.
Yeah. Then for me, I'm thinking now, it's like, oh, I'm gonna sit in my car in a parking lot. I'm gonna run out of oxygen because I'm in a car. Like
You're right.
yeah. But anyways, let's talk about being visual. So you are a visual also. Would you say you have a visual memory? Like it's easy for you to remember like pictures or images of something that happened.
Yeah, and usually when I'm trying to like just when I'm trying to remind somebody of something, I usually start like using my hands to like visually make like, yeah, do you remember that box that came in the other day and we put it over here? It was by this other box next. It was down over here, and I'm like describing like the location of where it's at because I have it in my head of how it looks, where it was or whatever. And that's usually how I remember things, by remembering where like the sensory picture of how it looks.
Gotcha. They said that double deciders have problems with fear, and the fear usually comes from that fourth function. So NI in your case. Um, can you share some of the fears that you have from your fourth function NI, or just general fears that you have?
Yeah. So very recently, um, there were I had loss prevention in my store because my inventory results haven't been very well. So loss prevention had to just go. It was totally routine stuff. Like, hey, we just need to go and just see what you're doing. Maybe we can help you do things differently. But in my head, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. They're gonna find something random and they're gonna be like, you're not doing your job properly, so you're gonna, they're gonna get rid of your job here, and I'm just like freaking out the entire time about like before they show up. So because I don't know how this visit is going to go, I'm instantly like freaking out about losing my job. So that's probably one of my biggest fears is just like not knowing if I'm going to lose my job whenever somebody visits my store. um, just because there was just a trend of a few other store leaders had lost their jobs recently after LP visits. So I was like, crap, am I next? Visit went well. It was actually pretty routine. And in hindsight, I'm like, man, I feel pretty dumb. And even some of my, one of my peers got kind of frustrated with me because I kept saying, do you think they're gonna get me fired for this reason? I did this other thing on accident, but it was to help a guest. Are they gonna fire me? And she at one point was like, oh my God, shut up. You're fine. You're not doing anything wrong. And she was right. It went fine. So biggest fear right now is probably potentially ever losing my job.
Yeah, you have. I mean, it was clear that you have things problem. It wasn't like a people problem. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah. So clearly you're still double decided right there. Uh, they said that EPs are obsessed with freedom. Can you talk about your obsession with freedom?
I would say the way mine comes out really is more about like um, more like knowing what's going on with people. Um, a lot of like the other like the big Edward Snowden and those other people that have had like big like information needs to be free kind of craziness. Mine have never been that big. Mine usually is based around like um, oh, this person's acting kind of weird. Why? I kind of want to know why they're acting this way. Let me know what's going on. Or, um, this person did this other thing for whatever. Like it's anytime somebody acts differently for whatever reason, I start freaking out and I want them to tell me what's going on. So I guess the best way to sum it up is I like gossip. So the more people tell me of things that's happening, that's usually how I want the information to be free. Like, just tell me what's going on.
Gossip. Okay.
Yeah.
So because EPs are obsessed with freedom, I have a theory that well, before I talk about the theory that I have, are you scared of the system or the government controlling you? Because it's NI, right? So it's like abstract. So are you scared of like the man, gonna control you, or like there's the government that is out to control you? Like, are you scared of that? Like
Yeah,
big.
no, that never really bothered me. That never really bothered me, the government and everything. But I think a lot of it just had to do with how I grew up. Like, I was literally sheltered I was in my room most of my life. Like, I didn't really care to go out and about and stuff. So, for me, like government, all that stuff, it doesn't interest my FI, so I don't really
Yeah.
care about it. So usually, and plus it's I've noticed that masculine sensors, SC at the top, they're the ones who tend to freak out even more about like the big information in governments and everything. And I don't really do that, probably because it's feminine sensory. So it's just like,
Gotcha.
okay.
That's interesting. That's good to know. I'll ask someone that has masculine sensory in the future if they have this freak out, because
Yeah.
yeah, that would be interesting to find out. One of my theories is that a lot of people that ends up being homeless are ESFPs and ESTPs, because of that, because of the SE. The SE wants physical freedom, and if you work for like a big company, you're stuck in like a box, right? So you kind of feel constrained, and then like you don't want to be part of the system, the NI system. So a lot of them would rather be like on the street, because they're at least they have the freedom. But it's kind of like a weird like irony, because you're not really free in the streets, because now you have to panhandle for money, or and whatnot. So you're not really free. But that's just my thought. So I don't know what your take is on that. But
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, to some degree, like, you still have laws to abide by, even being out in the streets, So, yeah, it's kind of weird that some people do feel that way. But, yeah, and plus, them being saver sensors, they'd be comfortable being outside, you would think. at least the
Yeah,
majority of them are fine being out there. Yeah.
yeah, you're right. You're right. You're completely right because of the SE. You're completely cool with being outdoor.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be cool with outdoor. I actually hate when you go to a restaurant, I hate eating in a patio, outside. Like I hate that. Like I wanna be inside the restaurant. People are like, oh, I want fresh air. I'm like, no, I don't want the fresh. I want to be inside the building. So that's like the weird thing with the SI versus the SE, I guess. The SE people love to experience everything that's happening, but like for me, I'm like, nope. Um,
Yeah. Well, I live in Houston, so it's pretty like humid and hot here. So it's weird to see people want to eat outside, like in a patio here.
okay, maybe when it's really bad, then even that you don't want to be
Yeah.
outside. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so um, I have last two questions for you, and we'll wrap up the interview. So the first one is, what advice can you give to fellow ESFPs who are struggling to use their NI to plan for the future? You know, how can you plan for the
Um.
future better?
The I think the best thing to realize is that um, with if you stop and think about how it will help you in the long run so that you can do more sensory now, it's going to be more beneficial because I've noticed with me, I will like not want to, go to even go to the grocery store if I don't feel like it because I don't want to. And if you don't plan ahead and start thinking about like even once a week go grocery shopping, just like David Shannon have talked about in their videos too about like planning ahead of stuff. That way you can enjoy the sensory now even more. It's a lot better because you don't want to have in the back of your mind, crap, I still gotta go to the grocery store. Crap, I still gotta do this. I still gotta do this other stuff. Well, if you spend the time now, plan it all, and you have it, locked in somewhere that you're gonna do something, whatever it is you have to do, whatever chore you have to do at this in the future, at this point in time, then you can enjoy what you're doing now even more. And that's something that I'm learning is having to tell myself, hey, you need to spend an extra hour today and just plan what you're going to do the next couple of days, next week, next 2 weeks, whatever, and try to put a date and time to it. So that way you can enjoy what you're doing now even more. So that's probably the biggest thing I'm learning. And so hopefully that helps other ESFPs.
My last question for you is: do you feel like getting things done is not going to be your life problem because you have consumed first? So you gather information and then you play blast after. So it's not just play after, it's play blast, right? So usually consume play people, they like to take in information and then they want to do something with that information, right? But because you're consume play blast, you're kind of like a manic crackhead at the end there, right? Like kind of like me, I'm play blast also. So do you feel like that happens to you? Is that something that like you're quite good at, is like getting the information and then doing something with it, like not just doing something, but like really doing something with it?
Yeah, usually it's usually, yeah, like when as soon as I figure something out at work, I immediately want to tell everybody else, like, hey guys, I just figured this out. This is what you guys to do. So I'll immediately start contacting like my peers at work at different stores and be like, hey, I figured this out. This is what's going to happen. We got to start doing this, guys. Let's do this. And I get stuff done really fast at work. Like I'm usually just on the move, on the go, really, really fast.
But
Because,
do you go in a manic state though, like a crackhead state, would you say?
I don't think so, but there are times when I'll realize like, oh crap, I haven't drank water in like 4 hours, and I've just been going, going, going,
Right.
and all of a sudden I'm like, crap, I'm thirsty. Why am I thirsty? Oh crap, I haven't been drinking any water. Like I need to go
Yeah.
get some water really fast, or I'll skip my lunch, like because I'm just going, going, going. That's how it comes out more than anything. Is I'll neglect myself sometimes.
Gotcha. So you are doing it in like you're expending your energy like crazy, completely forgetting about your health needs. And would
Yeah.
you say that's directly because of sleep class? Like you forget to hit the brakes and like rest up, and recover your energy? Would you say? Like, do you crash
Oh,
it at the end of the week or whatever?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Usually it's like I'll keep going, 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 and then on my off day, I'll sleep in, and 10, 11, 12 hours, and then finally wake up, and I'm feeling even more groggy. Like, man, why am I so tired? This is weird. Like, it's my off day, though. I slept in. I don't get it. What? Like, this is weird.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I would try to sleep in and I would be even more tired. Uh, yeah, because I think we're not supposed to be doing that. I think we're supposed to spread it out during the week, but we just go on a massive resting binge and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We get stuff done, but
yeah,
it's at an expense. Yeah.
yeah, there is an expense. There is an issue there. Um,
Yeah.
all right, dude. Thanks again for coming out and doing this interview and sharing with us what it's like to be your type. Double feminine, consume, play, blast, sleep, ESFP. And take care, dude. And bye to everyone.